Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 803rd Roundtable Review Contest. No.
Have we really done that many? Oh, no way.
You've aged like fine wine, Pete. Don't worry.
Well, you know what?
He's been cryogenically frozen, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Richard are the only ones that have done all of them so far, so I could believe we've done 803 of them.
Yeah.
The only ones that have turned up to all of them.
Yeah.
The Interstellar Roundtable Review. And this one, actually, on that note, is a roundtable review with a twist, because all going well, even though today, at this moment in time, I'm only joined by Pete and Joe. We should have Miles and Josh along later in the video through the magic
We've bi-generated.
Exactly, yeah. They'll be along to give us their thoughts on that and everything.
We'll have Miles will pop out of me and Josh will pop out of Joe, and that'll be... Yeah.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So let's try and save the reveals, or the big reveal at least, until later on, and just turn our attention to the episode itself. I'll briefly just say myself. I enjoyed this. When I watched it, I thought it was fun. I liked the kind of imagery of like all the people flying off into space, and it kind of took a turn. It was very much kind of what I was expecting, I think, in a sense, because I think if you did a story about like a big arena or a big event, not to that sound too glib or whatever about it, but like it makes sense to have the threat be like a terrorist. It kind of put me in mind of other events like from like recent history, like in our own world, that have happened before. And yeah, that feels like a very credible danger and a threat to have in that kind of scenario. So, like that, I was intrigued to see what the political element was going to be, because I'd heard Juno say, I think beforehand, that, it's going to be a political story. I did kind of guess, not straight away, but kind of close to transmission, that, perhaps it's going to have something to do with the Horns and something going on there, like with discrimination or whatever. Yeah, and the political thing, we'll probably get into it later on, I suppose, but I think looking back, it is a bit muddled, and people are kind of right to have sort of picked it apart a little bit and said, actually, with the corporation and stuff, it doesn't... I mean, it kind of goes some way to criticise the corporation, but also it's a bit of a weird one with the Doctor torturing Kid, and like the way that those things kind of... I don't know, yeah, it seems a bit disjointed, a bit like the way it's weighed out doesn't quite make sense or work, but enough of that. Joe, I'll turn to you first, because I think you probably enjoyed it more, or at least on first watch, than Pete, so...
Yeah. Brilliant. Budget well spent. If you were to tell me, out of all the episodes that we're going to spend the most money on, Interstellar Song Contest, not a good idea. Like, this is the one, when we did our predictions video, we were highly skeptical of. Like, we thought it was going to be the dud, and a bit like, but actually, I was very impressed. All the space stuff, really great. None of it looked trash, quite frankly, like when they're all getting shooting off into space. Admittedly, did kind of have a problem that they were cryogenically frozen. Dots who? Just kill them. Just kill them off. That's all it needed to be. Don't make it complicated. But other than that, I think, as you say, with the political stuff, it's a bit muddled. Like, it's supposed to be, we're anti-corporation, this is bad, what they've done to the planet. But then the Doctor kind of doesn't get a moment to listen to that side of the story that Belinda gets to hear. Like, it feels like there's a scene missing at the end where Belinda should be, like, talking him down from doing what he's doing to Kit. It's Kit, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Kid. With a D. Yeah, Kid. Because it's like a goat thing as well, isn't it? I think there's meant to be like an angle to that because of the horns, and I'm pretty sure that's addressed at some point. It's like a nickname or something.
Who knows? And I just felt there was also another missing element where I felt like the other one, I don't know what her name was, could have maybe had more of a redemption arc, but overall solid other than that.
Pete, over to you. How did you find it on Saturday evening when you watched it?
Right, well, I'll give a bit of a just a quick bit of a backstory as to how I watched it. So on Saturday, I decided to do a hike with my hiking group, which I've been part of for a few years. I thought, I'm gonna, it's nice and sunny. I'm gonna get out in the sun. It's gonna be amazing. So I deleted all social media from my phone, because I thought if we stop at some point in the walk and we're just milling around, I might accidentally open Twitter and have a little flick through. So I deleted everything. Went on the walk, had a really good time. Stupidly, didn't bring any hat or sun cream, so I got a bit sunburned. You can probably tell from this video. So the walk finished, and the guy that gave me a lift there wanted to go for a drink. And I thought, that's fine, it's 3 o'clock. I'll be back way in time for Doctor Who. I've got loads of time, like 4 hours, whatever. And it was only 45 minutes journey home. So I thought, yeah, all good. Let's go for a drink. One drink turned into quite a few. And then he said, right, we're going to get a train back now. I thought, amazing. It's 4 o'clock, 4:30. I'm going to have so much time to be back in for Doctor Who. Got the 15-minute train back. Got to where the car was. And he was like, should we go for another drink? Just around where the car is. And I was like, but we're going to miss Doctor Who. And I'm there looking at my watch thinking, oh, it's going to be close, but I can still do it. So I was already a bit annoyed going into it. Watched the episode. Did actually quite enjoy it on the whole. But then the post-credit scene really tipped me over the edge. I mean, you guys are in a group chat with me, and my reaction was not normal. I'm going to give RTD the benefit of the doubt, and I think he could turn it around. He could make it a great adventure for the Rani. But from what I've seen of Mrs. Flood so far, she just doesn't feel like the Rani. And I thought biogenerating her into another one, and she's like the minion, just kind of didn't feel great. Because I want to see Mrs. Flood or the Anita Dobson playing the Rani.
It diminishes her in a way.
Yeah, that last scene left me on a bit of a sour note, which is a shame because I was having a blast with the rest of it, and I loved the Bucks Fizz bit, and I loved obviously all the Susan stuff. I would have liked her to do a little bit more than what she did. But hopefully we'll see some more of her in the finale. And but on the whole, enjoyed it. Just the last bit I didn't like. Following day, rewatched it, and I was just telling you guys before we started recording, probably my favourite of the series. It was weird. The episode just did a complete change for me. And I think part of that is because I'd focused so much on the post-credits scene. And I hate post-credits scenes anyway. I hate it when Marvel do it and whatever. I've hated when Doctor Who's done it in the past. Just put it in the episode. You don't need to start halfway through the credits and do an extra scene. So I think I'd focus so much on that. But the rest of the episode, loved it. Really, really good.
Should we maybe delve into Susan a little bit to deal with the first, the big thing, big reveal from this story? I didn't actually know that was coming. I mean, I suppose we'll get onto with the Rani thing and the bi-generation that was leaked. I knew, Joe, you knew as well. I'm guessing, Pete, you hadn't heard any of that for either that or the Susan thing. No. Or
no, I think. I knew that, I think everyone kind of knew it was probably going to be the Rani for Anita Dobson. But with the Susan stuff, I think we all knew.
Rani thing.
Yeah, but I think with the Susan stuff, we all kind of thought she might pop up at some point because she'd been mentioned so much in the last series. But no, wasn't expecting her in this episode.
Yeah, I've said it elsewhere. It's a big week for fans of Dimensions in Time because it's like those two characters, two time ladies. Yeah, like from 1993, and they're back on our screens again. All at Christmas at once. But I think as well, I was kind of sort of suspecting / hoping that she'd appear, but I didn't know because she's not getting any younger. I didn't know whether they'd kind of got anything in the bag with her or not, because obviously we had last year and there were the mentions, but it didn't come to anything. But I suppose in the back of my head I was thinking, it's a 2-year, 2-season plan, fingers crossed. Even so, like an audible gasp when she crops up. Yeah, it did feel a bit random. The way it was kind of explained afterwards as the Doctor being at this kind of point of near death, and the way the episode as well taps into the destruction of Gallifrey, or the most recent destruction of Gallifrey, and the Doctor being the last of the Time Lords and his internalized kind of trauma and rage there as well. That kind of justifies it a little bit more for me, and I think it's inevitable that there'll be more in the finale, so it's not like with the Fugitive Doctor thing last week where I'm kind of thinking, oh, that was a bit of a shame, it was so brief. I can kind of live with this being brief for now because there's probably more to come. I mean, do we have any particular hopes for Susan? Because I'm kind of thinking it's probably just going to be like a scene between her and Shooty, like right at the end. I'm not sure what else beyond that it could be, but I don't know.
If he is leaving, because there's been no clarification whether he is or isn't, we don't have a clue what's going on. He's going to stage. The BBC's been weird, not fully transparent. I think it would be really lovely if his final scene was with his granddaughter, like some sort of psychic projection of her, or just something where she comes back for a brief moment just to say goodbye. And then, depending on what happens with Doctor Who, I know we've heard the Mirror has said 2 more seasons are being commissioned. If it is left open-ended, it'd just be really nice to end how they started back in 1963. if this was to be the end.
Shall we talk about the Rani then? The elephant in the room, or the Rani's in the room. We've kind of touched on it a bit already. So, I mean, Pete, how did you come to that? You've said you didn't like it. Have you warmed up to it at all, or no?
I think now that I've had 24, 48 hours to think about it, I think for me it's more the bi-generation thing that's annoyed me a little bit, because I didn't so much mind when David Tennant bi-generated, because it was like a one-off. It was, it's a myth. It's never going to happen again. But I'm just worried that this is going to be, they're going to do it every single time now, or certainly every time in Russell's era, if he has any more Time Lords cropping up.
I think that's fair. Yeah, in Russell's era. I wouldn't have thought so beyond that, but who knows, I suppose.
Yeah.
You never know.
which kind of irritates me a little bit. But anyway, the thing that worries me, I think I kind of touched on it briefly before, is I don't know if Russell's capable of writing her as the Rani. And I worry that he's just seen her as female baddie Time Lord. And it's like, she's a bit more than that. She's a scientist. Yeah. She's not fully evil. She does things more for the science edge of it all. And I'm worried that he's going to go more down the line of just having her be the master, but a female. And if that's the case, then she might as well have been the master, or Missy.
I have to agree with you, Pete. I am a little bit concerned, because I'm going to be honest, the way he wrote John Sims' master, end of time, I think he had mellowed him out a bit, but you'd just written him as zany and mental, like absolutely insane. And that's not really who the master was. And you kind of worried that, okay, the Rani's kind of this scientist. She makes crazy creatures. But is he just going to do that again? But it's going to be the whole, oh, I'm a mad scientist. I have a space baby station where I grow children. You know what I mean? You do just enter it with these concerns like, oh, has he done his research? Because there are going to be classic Doctor Who fans who were sat there like, they have waited for this reveal.
The other thing with bringing the Rani back is, I don't mind Time of the Rani too much, but I know it's not one of the most popular stories. So I do wonder, is it a good thing to highlight that character and that era that wasn't the most popular? I know a lot of people like it now, and I know a lot of people love season 24. And actually, I quite like season 24. But whereas last year we had, we're bringing Sutekh back from the golden years of Doctor Who and Pyramids of Mars, and we're going to show that on BBC 2 or whatever it was, BBC 4. Are they going to show Time on the Rani? And I imagine they're not. Well, I imagine they would have told us by now if they were. But it's like, it's still, even if they're not going to show it, they're still going to be highlighting that in some regard, because fans will go back and want to know who this character is. And it's like, are you really going to send a load of youngish Doctor Who fans to go and watch Time on the Rani? Is that the best thing to do? I don't know.
Is she going to dress up as Mel again? That's my question.
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Yeah. Well, yeah. I would slightly counter that or respond to that by saying, I think, like with Sutekh, he's a very acclaimed villain. Maybe this is like a safer choice in that sense, because I don't know, there's not as much at stake. Like, people aren't going to be so mad. Like, okay, you've got to kind of be you've got to honour the character that was there originally. But I was watching Mark of the Rani back, so the second time I've ever seen it, last night, and I quite like Time in the Rani. I'm going to watch it again later this week as well, or maybe between these two recording sessions. But certainly in that first story, I don't actually think there's loads there from her, like in terms of her character, or even the plot as well. It's a bit kind of just, we'll wander around the woods and we'll turn people into trees and stuff. It's kind of the science thing, isn't it? The experiments, and I suppose the distinction between amoral and immoral, like not doing things that are specifically evil, but just not having any regard for whatever the kind of the ramifications of what she's doing are, whether they're good or bad or whatever. Just kind of like going ahead with her experiments, whatever happens. So yeah, I suppose in that sense it gives Russell more scope. Actually, it's more of a blank slate, perhaps, or there's less there to kind of like really stick to, I suppose. Because the bi-generation thing, I quite like that actually. I think even from having seen it in the leak as well, I think I just like it because it's, and I'm assuming it will just be contained to this era, but it's nice to have that linking through generations over the past couple of years and in this era. I don't want to see it beyond the 15th Doctor's departure, whenever that may be.
Do you think do you think that'll have some connection with the Rani, with her experimenting?
Yeah, it could do.
That would be quite nice if she's involved in even the 14th Doctor's bi-generation and her own, if there's some connection there, or I don't know, it'd be nice if
Yeah,
there
like
was
trialing it out of the Doctor before she does it herself, or vice versa, or whatever. Or...
With like galvanic radiation or whatever, from whatever the beam is. Yeah.
I don't mind crazy, wacky concepts as long as they're explained. I think they've got to be explained, and it's one of the things that always annoyed me about like the fugitive Doctor and her having the police box TARDIS. Mrs. Flood, I mean, this might get explained, but Mrs. Flood not recognising the TARDIS and then recognising the TARDIS, the bi-generation, the Doctor changing his clothes when he was generated from Jodie. Just little things. It would be nice to. I don't mind them doing them, but just put in an explanation. Just even a simple one of, with for example, the clothes one. Just put the toy maker changed them or whatever. Just something that
one was kind of right there, wasn't it? Like he did it in 1966.
Yeah,
kind of like they could have canonised that. I think it's interesting with Mrs. Flood because, although and again having seen it beforehand in the leak, but I kind of just love the idea, the audacity of bringing back the Rani and doing this and the bi-generation and this new incarnation. I do actually agree with like the point that Mrs. Flood hasn't really behaved like her thus far, and I guess you can explain it away. It's like a disguise or a different persona, like the Washerwoman in Mark the Rani and her persona as Mel in Time and the Rani. I suppose that's a kind of running theme, a bit like the Master with disguises. But I think that is fair, and although in principle I do like the idea of the bi-generation here because I liken it to when the Master came back and we had Derek Jacobi for like one story, but then we have to kind of wave goodbye and like say, oh no, we're going to have John Sim now instead. This allows you to keep that older actor, the previous actor, on the scene and involved in events. It will depend on the execution of that. Like, I hope she isn't just the lackey now, like just the servant, just second in command to the other Rani. That's a slight concern, maybe. That
I think that could get quite irritating quite quickly.
Loads to do.
Yeah. It does make you worry though if they will go down that route because, like, you've got to respect like Anita Dobson's age. If there's like wild scenes of like them flying around the room or something or on wires, they could put Anita in that scenario. But like when they cast John Sim, they've cast a younger person clearly, they can do more dramatic stuff.
Well, I
guess
say
age is a limiting factor.
But maybe they'll use that
safety.
to determine so that the younger Rani gets more of that physical stuff to do, and like Anita can just be that more like doing static
as long as
stuff.
They make her like cold and calculated and always sat in the corner scheming, and maybe pull the rug from underneath us and go, okay, the Rani's gone.
I want to see evil stuff from her now. We've seen hints of it in the past. I hope she isn't just kind of like joking around and like quipping with the other Rani. And kind of like in awe of her and stuff. I hope she's still in her own rights a formidable foe.
One thing I did like about this episode actually was Rylan. I thought he was hilarious. And
he was good.
I've never been his biggest fan. And I actually met him. I think we spoke about this on a previous roundtable, but I met him a few years back.
Yes.
I went to a BBC audience thing where you just sit in the audience and just watch a TV program being filmed, and it was called Buy It Now for Christmas. It kind of like Dragon's Den. There was people like showing off the new inventions and stuff, and one of them was like some sports equipment where you had to like you could like pack it into your backpack. It was that you could make it that small and bring it out and stuff, and you had to vote whether you'd buy it or not. And I think I said we held up our cards, and I said no. And like he asked me to come and try it out on stage, and I chatted to him for a bit on stage about the sports equipment. And all I remember is that he stank of cigarettes. So lovely man though, lovely man. But did that, and then they cut me out. They cut me out of the program. I'm in it for about 2 seconds, but they cut me out.
It was the look of disgust as you walked off stage. You were like,
Deciding factor.
He was a lovely man, but I've never really thought much of his career. I just don't know much about what he's. I know he was on X Factor and stuff, but I don't know enough about him. But I thought he was great. I thought he was kind of taking the mick out of his own career a little bit. That was the one thing that on the second watch really stood out to me. I just thought he was excellent. I thought he was really good, checking his teeth before he went on. The whole thing just worked for me. I thought he was excellent because I was a bit unsure going in whether it would work with him. And I don't know if Graham Norton quite worked for me. I think that was a little bit maybe too far. But I thought Rylan was great. What do you think about Dig-a-Doo?
Who's Dig-a-Doo?
Is that the song?
the song.
Oh, is that
I think it's
thing?
Dagadoo, but
You know what it's called?
Dagadoo, 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 or something like that. Yeah, I mean the song
Sing
in
it for us.
general. Yeah.
Dagadoo or Digadoo?
I think Dagadoo. Yeah, that's a good point because I kind of expected the music and the songs to feature a bit more heavily in this than they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you get the big one at the end.
It's more about the horny woman, isn't it, and her story. I mean, not horny like that. I mean, horny like horny.
Yeah.
Look, she's
Like
not
their
horny
national
anymore.
anthem or whatever it is, or like their cultural song.
Which I really like that bit. I've seen people online saying that they didn't like that bit, but I thought that was quite a nice moment. It maybe went on a little bit too long, maybe, but I thought it was a really beautiful moment. I thought it was quite a nice moment.
So I think overall the music was like more tolerable than things we've had in the past in this era, perhaps like the twist at the end or the
That was awful.
or whatever. Yeah, but at the same time, I wonder whether they played it a little bit too safe, like maybe to avoid those kind of complaints. Like I wonder whether we could have a little bit more of a bit more of the music. Like we have Liz Lizardine played by the singer Christina who sang the Goblin song there in the.
Oh, was that who she played?
That was
I saw her on the cast list. Yeah,
so she gets her moment there, and you know, and that's nice as well. How that kind of plays when everything's going wrong and everyone's flying off into the air.
Costume this week, god awful. Have you seen it? So he's missing the necklace. It's the very first time I've ever seen him missing the necklace, unless he's wearing a suit. He's not wearing it at all.
I saw a tweet about this. It's their Robot Revolution as well, where he's in the rebel outfit. Yeah, but are they like the only two occasions where he's not worn?
I think so. Yeah.
Far? Yeah.
The top is this like custom made thing, but it looks horrible because all the squares on it up the front are all misaligned. It's got this horrible stitch collar. He's then got these custom pants, and it's genuinely. But the only redeeming factor are
the grandsons,
the trainers. Yeah, that are actually quite nice. But other than that, terrible this week, and step up your game next week, Shooty.
I wonder.
1 out of 10. 1 out of 10.
Could that have been to do with the stunt work, perhaps? Like if it was
with all the wire work.
Yeah, the Mavity scenes.
Well, maybe they cut the tops to bits, to put the harnesses through. You don't know, do you? Because
that's what I'm wondering. Yeah, maybe
they modified
maybe that's why they cut the necklace out as well, so he didn't get
tackled when he was in the air.
That's the point, isn't it? Yeah, like strangled by it. Yeah, there's been speculation about him regenerating. Maybe not quite at this point. Well, on that note, shall we turn to the future, to next week? So we've got one more story to go to episodes.
Wish World.
Hit me with your spoiler-free predictions. I mean, I should say as well.
Actually, that was you, Joe. That was pointing at
you. In terms of leaks, I feel like the biggest stuff is actually behind us now. Like the Rani thing was the biggest one. I think there's some leaked dialogue out there, as we've mentioned, potentially, and a bit of speculation about maybe other people,
villains,
or things cropping up, perhaps. But that's about it, I think. So yeah, and they've released a lot of photos today, actually, of like babies. Lorani holding a baby.
Which is odd, yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff we clearly don't know.
I think that's supposed to be like misleading though, because they've like released pictures of Ruby with it. So I think they're trying to do this thing where it's like,
isn't there one where like Belinda's holding
Yeah.
Poppy, the space baby?
Poppy, yeah.
Space baby, yeah. Which
Conrad's holding the baby,
about?
The other baby.
Mm.
Yeah, so. Who knows?
I suppose it could be. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's I don't know, and there's also stuff like tables don't do that. Apparently, tables.
That just looks like it's going to be a Beast Below thing, though, like a copy of the water test.
Mm.
But because like tables are supposed to be solid, but I don't know. Any predictions?
I'm looking forward to it. I think, you know what I think it is, right? I think it's because I know I'm going to watch it on the big screen that I'm automatically, even if it's rubbish, just watching on the big screen automatically makes it better.
You'll be sat next to us.
It's like a ride of death together. We all do it like one last. If this is it,
and it won't be 1 a.m. when it finishes this year. It won't be
thank goodness!
That's something, isn't it?
If this week's proved anything to me, it's that we cannot do a live round table, because if we do, this review would have been different if it was live. Looking forward to the thing is with Doctor Who, right? Something happens, right? Whatever it is, the Timeless Child or something else, we all get really annoyed. And then 5 years later, something even worse happens. You look back and go, that wasn't too bad. I mean, no, I still hate the timeless trial. That's still public enemy number one. But what I'm trying to say is, there's always been stuff. There's always been stuff. I remember getting annoyed by some of the Matt Smith ones at the time. Wedding River Song. You look back now, masterpiece. I'd watch that on the big screen. I'd watch that in 3D on the big screen.
I don't mind.
Oh, it's an abusive relationship, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah, it is. It is. You think honestly, right? And this sounds really, really bad because I love Doctor Who and I love Russell's writing, and he got me into wanting to work in TV and everything. But I almost felt like with the cancellation rumours, I thought, this is it. I'm finally free. I'm finally free from watching it every year. But no, apparently it's coming back next year or at some point. So
you say that if it's a bad thing.
No, I'm happy it's coming back, but it's just like, I've got to go through this all again. There's going to be another mystery woman who's going to turn out to be. I don't. Who we got left now? I mean, there's no one left. It's going to turn out to be. We've had Tegan, haven't we? Can't say Tegan. Yeah, there'll be someone.
The Garm or.
Yeah. Chameleon will come back in one of the episodes or something. But anyway.
Well, I was going to say, do you have any predictions about what could be going on there with the Unholy Trinity? What the cliffhanger might be? Any big reveals? Not talking to you, Joe. I'm talking to Pete with this one, but.
Well, I actually know very little about the finale. All I know is that he's cramming everyone into it, including the kitchen sink. Because apart from the characters that are appearing, as in Unit, Ruby, Conrad, two Ranis, the Doctor, Belinda,
like the companions' families as well, like Belinda's family, Ruby's family.
Yeah, Ruth in the wheelchair,
and
Ibrahim, Kate. Is Mel in it? Mel must be in it.
Yeah, Mel. Yeah, because of the Rani and Susan Twist is in it as well. And
so apart from knowing that it's going to be like Journey's End in that regard, I don't really know a lot about it. I know there's like one clip that was put on Unleashed of a dinosaur thing, but I know very little, which is kind of good. It's nice going and not knowing anything, and I have a feeling that Missy's going to be in it. I think that's kind of seems like it's going to happen because obviously she was at the premiere and it makes sense for her to be there. But who knows? And on that note, I've got to go, so I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave Joe to tell you all his spoiler stuff now.
Spoilers,
so.
yeah. We can
actually can put this bit in because no one else is here.
Because we've said to each other, haven't we, that like we don't think anything's been seen of episode 8 yet in the trailers.
No, absolutely not. I think it's all
episode
wish
7,
world.
There's been very little actually. If you go back and look, like the Doctor in his bowler hats, the stuff in the Bone Palace, the stuff like on the street, the skeleton beast thing in the sky. But beyond that, so yeah, I think there's still a lot to be revealed.
I hope your theory is right about this all being the whole pantheon, because now everyone's gone. Your theory about the pantheon all being just one massive experiment would be quite nice, because then it means we can get away from this for the next series and just go back to proper stuff.
It will be wrapped up. I think Russell said, hasn't he, that the pantheon's going to be involved somehow. It'd be interesting to see how it happens. But yeah, I'd like it if they were all like creations of the Rani, like her experiments. Like, I've made a god of music, I've made a god of light, whatever. That would be very in keeping for her as a character. But then as well, I suppose you've got that thing of like she's a scientist, and how does that line up with myths and legends and stuff? And there's possibly some leaked dialogue that kind of refers to that. But like, like, is she going to be part of it, or is she going to be like opposed to it? And is she actually going to be like, either working with the Doctor or like against the Doctor, but also against someone else? That seems likely.
I'll go into my theory that is separate from the leak.
Okay.
Given the Wish World episode title card, because we've already discussed this in the past, the sort of blue stuff floating at the top kind of looks like the Artron energy from the Sarah Jane Adventures. And I feel the villain that would make the most sense to be this third, because Russell has already said that the Ranis count as one.
Another member of the Trinity.
Yeah. Would be the Trickster. And the reason is, if our theory about the Rani wanting Gallifrey back, and she has to make a deal, because he grants life through wishes, it would make sense through Wish World for the villain to be the Trickster. The babies, furthermore to that, reusing that Sky Smith plot line would be quite nice. You know, the story he never got to tell with Sarah Jane.
Maybe. Interesting. Who do you think the baby is then? Because I think it could be this third member of the Trinity, because he says something about 160 years ago the third member is waiting. It would make sense to me if the baby was the setting from the pictures. It looks like 160 years ago.
So the baby will be a vessel of some kind. No idea if it has relation to Belinda or whatever. And I wonder if it's going to be used in some sort of messed up resurrection of the master. And then the master would be, because if it's a bone palace, the tooth is kind of a bone. Maybe the master is the gateway for to come back.
Yeah. Sure. A sacrifice or something, yeah.
A Time Lord sacrifice. A Time Lord for a Time Lord.
That would be messed up, wouldn't that? Would be crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to see it. Yeah, cool. So, through the magic of editing, I now have with me Josh and Miles. Pete and Joe have bi-generated.
Jumped out. So undignified.
Have sprung from the loin, of the Rani. And the Interstellar Song Contest. Guys, what did you think? Throw some thoughts at us about this week's episode.
I was absolutely... I loved it. I had a great time. It was a great day because I watched this one live on BBC One broadcast with the family. We'd just finished watching the FA Cup final, so I was praying that Crystal Palace won and they weren't going to go into extra time. So that was great. Doctor Who was on, and we had Eurovision afterwards. It was a really great day, great bit of entertainment. I had a great time, and watching it again, just little bits and pieces. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Some real standout moments. I've had a ball with it. Yeah. What about you, Josh?
I'd echo the same thing, really. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed how you thought it was going to go one way, and then I think 10 minutes in, you get, I think, possibly one of the bleakest images of New Who.
Yeah.
With all the people just floating into space.
It's insane,
It really caught me off guard, even though I knew it was going to take a turn because they'd said so before. I thought, God, that's really bleak. And I watched it the morning of because I didn't want to get spoiled. But I had a weird experience on the night as well because I was at uni and I went to the bar on campus and they were showing Eurovision. They were gearing up for that. And then I noticed, and while I was there, that on the screen, because they were getting ready and they had BBC One on, they had the episode on. And so it was quite a bizarre experience because I never thought, it wasn't on my bingo card that I was going to see Susan Foreman at my student union bar this year, but I did. And that was great fun as well. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Great fun.
I was so lucky, actually. I can't believe I didn't get spoiled. I deleted Twitter and Instagram, but I was like, there's going to be something that's going to happen here. I'm going to have a message or something's going to happen, But I managed to make it to broadcast, and Susan was a real shock. Yeah. That was great. Totally surprised me. And it was the Rani thing is so weird. It was almost a bit like the Sutek thing last year in the fact that we joked about it, and then there it was, but it was still
on that note. I might just have a little something prepared, just to refresh your memory. Could it be Mrs. Flood, Rain is an anagram of Rani. It could be. It's been said. It's been suggested.
I will. You can clip this out. I will put money on the fact that it is not the Rani, because we always say it as a fandom. We're always like, this is the Rani, this is the Rani.
I mean, I said this last week as well. I said, the Rain Rani thing. And as soon as I said that, yours and Joe's face dropped. And I could tell that I got it right. And I felt so bad because I thought, oh no, have I ruined it for you, Miles?
Wow, that's
and that was just for the record as well. That was literally from the church on Ruby Road round table.
Yeah.
So even that, I know. Yeah, we
look at my hair. I didn't as well. I mean,
look at all of our hair. I don't know what's going on.
But I didn't quite realise we'd literally spelled it out, and the flood rain thing and everything was literally right from the start.
That's so funny.
But
just like Sutek,
there was that moment last
incredible.
week, wasn't there, Josh? I can't remember. I think I might have cut most of it out. But yeah, I think you'd kind of stumbled upon it. And I suppose the nice thing was, you won't have known about the bi-generation part of it either. Because that was...
that really shocked me.
that was part of the leak. So the leak was the Rani's back,
Right.
it's Mrs. Flood, and she's going to bi-generate at the end of the story.
Was Susan part
You
of the leak?
Yeah, it was Susan Roman. Yeah.
There were rumours that she was, I mean, as much as ever, really, like last year as well. Oh, she might be in it, coming back for the finale, maybe. But no, that was a genuine surprise actually for me. Like seeing her this week, like oh my god, like yeah, jump scare.
Yeah, that's happened
yeah.
before. A similar sort of thing of like knowing someone was going to pop up, and then Jenna Coleman. It's like we knew that she was going to be the companion, and it's like, oh my god, here she is in Asylum of the Daleks.
Yeah,
You know, a few
like
episodes
Captain
early.
Jack, I suppose, in
Or like Captain
12,
Jack,
something a bit like that.
Yeah.
Like,
So
very
it's
strongly
kind
suspect,
of
but
yeah, and it really the Susan thing was lovely actually. The way they integrated it was really nice, and I don't think it would have confused people as well because it was made explicit. You know, the whole grandfather thing, or either way. It's a bit like the whole mysterious woman in the end of time, you know, even if you didn't know that, it's still a bit like, oh, who is that? That's really, you know, I wonder who this woman is. Maybe we'll find out soon. So I thought that the Susan thing was actually done really well,
yeah.
despite the weighty kind of implications in terms of the show's mythology.
Yeah, I agree actually. I think because like it's like with the Rani as well. Like both those characters have actually been mentioned in this era already. So even if newer fans don't necessarily clock straight away who it is, what's going on, they can go back and like rewatch Space Babies now and be like, oh my god, like he says the Rani and she's literally like there outside on the street in that moment as well. But like all the mentions about Susan and even if they don't realise in the moment, it has kind of been seeded there, and it's nice. And
I
the
guess
moments
that's
are
why
shocking
in
in
that
themselves as well.
deleted,
So it's,
the deleted scene as well in the giggle where the doctor's about to bi-generate and Mel just explains like time and the Rani. It makes sense now, I guess, that was going to be a seed because I thought at the time that's a weird thing to just bring up.
Really specific, yeah.
There are a few things like that I've I did a video about it, and like there was a quote from an interview where I think Millie Gibson said that she and Ncuti had watched Time in the Rani about a year ago, and Ncuti had said he wanted to fight the Rani, and there are a few little things that were kind of seeded along the way. Like looking back, you go, oh my god, yeah, that was happening under our noses the whole time. So
yeah, we had no idea. Well, you know, some people did, obviously, but I had no idea.
What I found weird about the reveal though is that it was very casual, and it's not even like this big moment where it's like, I am the Rani, or even like I said last week where it was like an anagram thing and like I chose the name myself, Doctor. You know, it was just sort of we're the Rani. It was very very casual.
I'd like to think that's part of like the Rani's character. From what we know of her, she's
her style.
Kind of a bit. Yeah, she's a bit more blasé. Like I was describing because Izzy had no idea who the Rani was, and she was like, "Oh, is this character that's obviously got some history to her?" And I was sort of like, think of her as like not the master. The master deliberately sets out to cause havoc, whereas the Rani, if there's havoc caused by her experiments as a scientist, then so be it. You know, as long as she gets the result that she wants, then that's fine. It's all collateral damage to her. So I think that it'll be really interesting to see how she's written in terms of that character. I think that the Rani is a very different character to the Master. So hopefully that kind of aspect really sort of stays. I love the Rani being a scientist. So I kind of like that she was like, oh, I'm not going to do a big grand entrance. You know, yeah, I'm the Rani. I don't know who you two are. We're off to do some proper work now. Bye. And the bi-generation thing was interesting. I wasn't expecting that at all. What about? I mean, Josh, you're not expecting that either.
No, and I'm kind of confused how that works now because she. So is Mrs. Flood? Is she still in the future? No, is the Rani that Archie Punjabi plays still in the future, or are they coexisting at the same time? Does the Rani have the memories of being Mrs. Flood in the finale? I hope that gets cleared up because it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I've seen people
they
say
still got
that,
away with it with the giggle,
comparing it back to the original, with the giggle and stuff, and that line about how the 15th Doctor's okay because the 14th healed himself, and I think people took that very literally, like oh, it's literally like he's got the memories of that. He's got like all the benefits of the therapy and stuff. I kind of think in both cases, actually, yeah, it is more like just coexisting. So I don't think. I mean, I suppose I can explain it away by like a time differential thing where she doesn't have those memories. But yeah, the way I read it was like Mrs. Flood, the new Rani doesn't have Mrs. Flood's memories from here on in. It's just like they're both on their own paths. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, I'll be honest, because to have it's not like a sort of the Doctor Falls type thing, I don't think, where it's the Missy and the Master. It looks like it's going to be a double Rani story, but Mrs. Flood is going to be like her almost sidekick, her almost companion,
Yeah.
I guess. Which is a bit weird that your companion's yourself. And I don't know why she's so like um subordinate so quickly, like yes, ma'am, and all of that stuff. It didn't seem for her to instantly reveal herself as the Rani and then suddenly back down was a bit strange. I hope again that's cleared up and whether, there's still stuff that I think doesn't make sense. I know that she says in the finale in season one, like she's always hiding herself away. Was this a chameleon arch type situation? Was she actually an old woman and only being frozen in space has awakened this inside of her? It just seems a little bit strange
I
because she hasn't
I
really
imagine,
acted like the Rani.
yeah, I imagine that some of this will be. I mean, we've got two whole episodes to explore it, rather than this being a reveal at the end of Wish World. We've got at
Yes.
least a two-parter to kind of talk about this, and the whole bi-generation thing. I think initially is a bit like I thought that was a one-off, and I mean, I sort of thought, oh, maybe the Rani was like she's aware of that and went, how can I do that myself? Like scientifically, how can I splice my DNA and force a bi-generation? But
Mhm.
the reaction from the new Rani, played by Archie Punjabi, is kind of like, oh, God, have we got to do this? Although
Yeah.
maybe that's the point. Maybe Mrs. Flood's Rani is kind of like set on a course of doing this bi-generation thing and forces this to happen. And this new Rani is like, "Ugh, I thought I was going to get a go all by myself here." And that's the
Mhm.
sort of the personality difference in the sort of
Yeah.
the more kooky scientist and the slightly more, blasé scientist. So I'm really
Yeah.
interested to see how that will be explained, if it will be explained, and what they kind of do with that. Because it would be nice to know why we've got another bi-generation so soon, and I'd like to think that the Rani has deliberately done something here. Fingers crossed. I think that would be nice because did Shooty say something like when he says in the giggle, it's a myth, it's it only happens once or something along those lines.
A
Anyway, we'll
thought that
see.
struck me about it as well is like I suppose actually to counter anybody that's saying, oh, well, like why is it back? Is actually I suppose if you're a new viewer, that's the only type of regeneration you've ever known. Like if you came on with the 60th, so I like that, and I like how it kind of connects back to that and just makes it all feel a bit more cohesive, like within the era at least. Yeah, it kind of it feels like it's its own thing.
But the Interstellar Song Contest beforehand.
The Interstellar Song Contest, yeah.
It's weird. You often because after these big twists, you often forget about the stuff beforehand. Don't you?
It does. It does. Yeah. As well, because like I said, it was on at the the student union bar. It did make me laugh because there was no audio, but the subtitles are on. But they turned them off for some reason just before the end of the episode. So there was no subtitles, and then she just split, and I just saw this guy just turn around and be like, what's going on? I'm just being utterly bewildered. So I wonder because I think this has got the highest, if we're to talk about this, it's got the highest viewing figures of the series so far, and I'm guessing that's because people switched on just before Eurovision.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what casual people who have no idea what this is all about thought when they saw that. I think they'll be probably very confused. But also it's, I guess, quite clever that this is the lead into the finale, but they've done this reveal now, tying
Yeah.
into Eurovision when they've got that
Oh,
many
yeah.
eyes on them.
I was saying to Miles as well
So fair
beforehand,
play
it's
to
quite
them.
nice. It's a nice full circle moment because Mrs. Flood was first seen in a Christmas episode, like a big primetime audience, and even like the bi generation thing as well. That was introduced in a big, kind of slightly primetime 60th special, like high profile. So it's nice that those two things are back in a story which again has that big audience, high profile event in the calendar for television and stuff. So I guess you can say that at the
cleverly
very least.
done.
Yeah, but there's thought that's gone into that.
Yeah, it's amazing how they've managed to line up, because the amount of riding on this episode needs to be on Eurovision, and we've said the 24th of May so much that if there's going to be a lot of ADR if this isn't the actual air date. So, well done to BBC schedulers, for making sure that this series aired when it did, and clever, like you say, to have kind of engineered it to have those twists in place that maybe, who knows, maybe we'll see a few more people join in for Wish World next week, or maybe people will go, you know what, I'll go and watch that one at the cinema that's coming out nearby to me. So yeah, but there's a lot to talk about with this episode, and kind of like we were anticipating. I don't think we were anticipating quite. I almost thought we were thinking maybe this was going to be a fugitive of the Jadoon situation, and that the first 10 minutes maybe we're going to be like, oh, it's the Eurovision episode, and then suddenly we would take a complete twist, and this is part one of the finale. But it certainly did have elements of, the Susan thing. It was kind of drip feeding a few elements that were coming into it. But the story itself, I thought, was really great. As Josh talked about, the imagery when it takes that horribly dark turn is fantastic. The silhouetted shot of the Harmony Station with the bodies. I mean, it's just, you can see where the money's gone. You can see where the fact that this is the biggest budget Doctor Who episode ever, allegedly. You can see where that's gone to. And the script, Juno Dawson is fantastic. I would love to see Juno come back. She's written a really great one here. I really loved the little character interactions. I loved Gary and Mike, the couple, and the way they were used, and the confetti cannon, and the Doctor saying, camp. I mean, how could you not have something like that in a Eurovision episode? It was brilliant. So yeah, lots of things to love. I think some real standouts from the era are within this one. I really had a great time with it.
What did you guys think of the Doctor's dark turn towards the end, and how he ends up basically torturing Kid? Is that his name?
I was going to bring this up actually, because this was my only kind of slight sticking point with the episode, in that I didn't really. It felt weird, especially watching this with the family as well. A light Eurovision episode, and I was like, this is going to be so fun, and we were having great fun with it. We were laughing so much at the confetti cannon, Dugadoo, that got a great giggle from all of us. To suddenly go so dark, first you've got the moment of the Doctor talking to Kid on the monitor and saying, I'm going to watch your body freeze in space and see you die, and it's a bit like, wow, okay, right, that is very strong for the Doctor, and then for the whole torture thing. And again, you've got the whole other element of this is a victim of a genocide at the end of the day. I know he's done all these horrible things, but he is still a victim as well. There's a lot of complex layers to this story. It's very political, very the moral ground that it stands on. There's a lot of levels to it. But the Doctor, I think that there is. It's good to see a darkness in the Doctor. The Doctor can be dark. The Doctor can have these moments like, destroying Skaro, or, pointing a gun at people and making threats. But there was a slightly nasty streak to the darkness we saw in this one. It was almost sadistic in a weird way.
Yeah.
And I think that we needed a little bit more to kind of go, you were actually really out of line here. And that there needed to be just a little something that, if we were going to go that far, then they pushed it that far, like Russell obviously asked Juno to do, then they kind of needed, I feel there just needed to be a little something in there to be like, we need to make it clear that this is not acceptable, especially for the Doctor as well.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it seemed too out of character, because at this point he's seen all these people get sent off into space.
But he
Um,
does know that they're
but,
alive,
but
right?
he
Because
does
he
know
says
that, yeah,
about,
that he's
yeah,
extended the
the
gravity thing.
Mavity field.
Oh, sorry, yeah, of course. What's
Just
gravity?
picking you up, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but again, I'm not sure how I feel about it as well, because I think the difference between the Doctor blowing up Skaro in Remembrance of the Daleks and this is that um, that you can't really imagine and sort of happens off screen. Whereas here you're actually seeing the Doctor physically cause harm to somebody,
Mhm.
which again is kind of like I don't know. I feel
It's an
like
uncomfortable moment. That moment when he's
yeah,
doing that, it goes on for slightly too long. And
Yes.
again,
yeah,
this kind of thing, I was watching it with the family, and there was a kind of an awkward moment in the room where everyone was just a bit like, "This is, this
Mhm.
is, this isn't the lead into Eurovision we were hoping for."
yeah.
Um, so yeah. Mm.
I got why he did it, but I think that I expected Belinda to have much more of a reaction to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Like an
thought
extra
that
scene at the end or something where she just tells him, "Hang on, you were
yeah,
out of
yeah,
line."
or like
yeah,
the Doctor. I
Yeah.
know that he snapped out of it when Belinda
Well, when
came
she
in
walks in,
and
isn't
gave
it?
her a
Yeah.
hug, but I
Yeah.
expected, him to start. Honestly, I expected him to start crying again and be like, "I'm so sorry. Like, I've
yeah.
really, I'm so sorry."
I mean, I've heard that
Whereas,
argument that, yeah, I've heard the argument that because this doctor feels so much more
Mm,
strongly, he cries more, he's gets more excitable, therefore he gets more angry, and the anger
Yeah.
comes out in
yeah,
extreme
yeah.
waves. But I still, yeah, I don't know if you are that emotional, you still should get your mates should still be, check up on you and be like, that's
Mm,
it's a bit far. It's a bit far. Yeah.
Because it was a shame. Because
mm,
before that point, I was kind of thinking, we've had a really good streak of villains for him this season. Like great examples of him, and yeah, like opportunities for him to like show off his acting chops, like with the barber and I did that brief scene with Conrad, and all this
Yeah.
kind of stuff that we've had. These real nemesis for him, which have been great. Great to see. That final scene just does muddy the waters a bit. It goes on a bit too long. It kind of feels a little bit like violence for violence sake, or like doing the time of victorious thing, kind of for the sake of just being
Mhm.
able to say, "Oh, we've done this again."
mm.
Yeah, it's kind of the darkest we've seen the Doctor probably since like I don't know, series 9 or 10, maybe. I don't know, something like that. Like it wasn't there with
It's
Yeah, like
Spyfall.
hell bent
Jodie so
maybe,
much,
or
was it? At all?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, the kind of the political layer to that as well. It makes it a bit complex and a bit I think misjudged overall, and because of the aspect of the corporation as well, and how in the moment does he realise quite how bad the corporation are and like all that motivation and stuff. It just felt there was a scene missing at the end where Belinda could have put him in his place and said, "Hang on a minute, the corporation is evil as well." You get the protest thing through song with Cora, isn't it, doing the song at the end, and that's nice, but it kind of just feels a little bit like more of a gesture than actually like going to dismantle this corporation. I suppose it is a tricky one because it's a similar thing with Kablam, isn't it? Where like people always like debate over that and like does that go far enough? At the end
Yeah,
of the
like,
story, the space
could you
Amazon is still at
imagine?
It is
large.
quite Kablam, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the same thing where that entity is still at large at the end. This organization, and I suppose it's a thing of like how far can the show go to bring something that big down, or like how much of a point can they make there? Are there restrictions to how far they can go? But yeah, this kind of felt a bit misjudged to me. So Miles and Josh, now over to you. What are your predictions for the two-part finale, Wish World and the Reality War?
The Rani wasn't a villain that I was expecting to be this excited about. But now we're here. I'm actually kind of really ready to see what story is going to be told with that. I was just saying I've literally just watched the little clip that was released of the two Ranis. Um, Quite encouraging actually, because it starts off and Mrs. Flood is doing that sort of subordinate thing, and then sort of slyly kind
There are
of goes,
hints under
"Oh
the surface,
well,
aren't there? Yeah, that she could
yeah." There's
maybe
another level to her.
rebel
Yeah.
or kind of just
So
come into her own a
so
bit more.
that's very interesting. That's encouraging. The Rani's got a sonic screwdriver as well, which is very cool.
Yeah. And it's like a little syringe as well. I think that's
yes, it is. That's
the
exactly what it
behind
is.
Yeah, which is
really
very nice.
clever.
Being a scientist and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. And talking of being a scientist as well, I've literally just mentioned as well. Russell's just done a post about Kate O'Mara and ended it with, catch the Rani's greatest experiment, next Saturday in Wish World, and that's again very encouraging because, as we were saying, the Rani is a scientist. That's her kind of character trait, yes, given that that's the kind of the starting point here. I'm really keen to see what gets done with that, how she's messed with the world, how kind of bizarre we're going to go for Wish World. Because having seen what little we have of the characters in these situations, I'm really fascinated to see how much they push the weirdness. Because I love a weird episode. I love a Zagreus. I love a kind of let's put the characters in a really weird situation and see.
Have you seen any of the promo pics that have been released between our two recording blocks?
I have.
Last night,
have you, Josh?
Yeah.
The stuff with
I've got a prediction based on that.
And
Susan Twist as the canteen.
Susan Twist,
in the same costume as Devil's Cord, right?
Yeah, the kind of the wood panelled version of the unit room, and I'd get like Kate Stewart and Colonel Ibrahim in there, like different attire, and there's going to be something funny going on there.
You know what? I keep mentioning because I'm watching Buffy for the first time at the minute, and there's an episode of that. It's weird. It's so weird. There's like a season finale and then an extra episode tagged on the end of the series, which is in this sort of dream world. All the characters are having dreams.
Is that the one with the guy with the cheese?
Cheese man. Yeah. There you go, Richard. That's just flummoxed you.
I've got something forward to one day.
But it's that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting here. It's weird, reality altering. I mean, obviously we've got the reality war coming up as well. Really fascinated to see where they go with this. What about you, Josh? You say you've got predictions based on the promo picks.
Well, this isn't an original prediction. I saw people talking about it online. In the promo pics with the Doctor and Belinda, where the Doctor's in his bowler hat and suit, they've got wedding rings on their fingers.
Yeah.
So people have said maybe it's like a WandaVision type thing, and that Captain Poppy is like their child.
Wow.
I wonder if, again, it's going to be like, if this is them going undercover or if this is an actual sort of, oh, darling, you come back from work type thing. And it's like, this is some kind of different reality. Now, I'm at a slight disadvantage here because I think I've read a leak.
Right.
Oh. Careful.
So Russell has said that the Trinity is
right.
not the
It's
two
not the
Rani
full-
and Comrade.
Yeah.
Still
There
someone
was
else
another
I saw
person.
this.
waiting in the wings. Yeah.
I think I know who that person is. I think I've seen it online.
Right.
Are you going to say, or are you going to?
I'm not going to say who it is, but I don't see how that person
Right.
fits into any of this.
Oh,
At all.
interesting. If that's the same person I'm thinking of. Okay, yeah. Interesting.
It'd be interesting what we have to say when we get to next week, then, and whether that'll be what the cliffhanger revolves around.
I
would
imagine
have
it will
thought so,
be.
yeah. 'Cause I've seen some, just for the record as well, there's no kind of big leaks, really. Like the Rani stuff from this week is kind of the biggest stuff, I think, in terms of the leaks that have come out. There's kind of rumblings, maybe, of like, who that could be or what could be going on there, but just kind of
I have to
fragments,
say,
so...
Yeah.
it's
Again,
up
not having
for debate.
obviously being the one here who's not seen any leaks and all that sort of stuff. I have to say I'm a bit surprised that we're not getting on the surface of it, we're not getting a God story for this finale. The Unholy Trinity sounds quite godlike, and yet it's the Rani and Conrad, and obviously maybe a god makes up the third one. But that was a good surprise. But it was a surprise to me to be like, oh, maybe the god thing yeah, I don't know how that's going to play into it. It has to play into it somehow, because we've been building up with the whole pantheon thing.
Yeah, I'd have thought
Um,
whatever happens, the third member will probably be some kind of like, pantheon member or god or something.
Josh is smiling, and I don't know whether that means that. So I'm not gonna. I don't want to. I shouldn't say anymore.
No.
Now that you said that, it's starting to make more sense who this person is.
Oh, okay. In
Okay,
real time.
right.
In real time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the the dinosaur and everything from the trailer, I don't understand how that has anything to do with.
I
No,
think
it's
that
a
might
bit random,
yeah,
but
that might be just a kind of a deep breath visual, a kind of a way to start
Yeah.
Wish World in the kind of like this weird alternate reality,
Uh-huh.
a Rani experiment. The Ranis had dinosaurs before in
I was going to say,
Mark
the
of the Rani.
embryos and stuff. Yeah, does it kind of go
Yeah.
back to that? Maybe in some
Sort of a
way,
callback
and-
to that, perhaps. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting as well. Like
guess.
there is clearly a lot of plates spinning here, and there's potentially going to be more. But it's kind of given me the vibe of your Journey's End, or in the modern day kind of terms, your Avengers kind of spectacle,
Yeah.
which, if done well, can be really good. Um, and it's interesting actually because having going to see this at the cinema, Izzy said that she's not going to watch this next week's one, so that when she goes to the cinema, it's just going to be like, oh, I'll just watch them back to back as a movie. It'll be more of an experience. Obviously, I'm not going to do that, but yeah, I mean, that'll be very interesting. Again, to sort of see it in that sense, especially if it has that kind of vibe of an Avengers, kind of all these different characters getting together.
And Ruby in it as well, and Mel.
Yeah, and Ruby being in her normal clothes, which kind of makes me think that's interesting. Why is Ruby normal when everyone else is kind of slightly off? Has she gone
Okay,
traveling,
yeah.
come back,
Yeah.
and then
Come back and
London is
everything's changed.
gone
Yeah,
weird.
maybe. I think that, maybe Ruby comes back from that break she said at the end of Lucky Day, and everything's changed, and the Doctor and Belinda are married, and it's like, we've got Mad Auntie Mel next door, and I'm going to go into work at Unit HQ, and we're the people who's investigate aliens, but we know they're not real type thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe it'll be
yeah.
like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, harking back to 70s stuff, with the kind of the older aesthetic, and maybe mentions of Sergeant Benton making the coffee next door, and
Nah.
giving horrible remarks and stuff. Yeah. So no, it's really interesting. I think there's a lot to play with.
With a reality war, I mean, that implies that there's a fight on two sides. So I wonder if this
Yes.
episode will be the Rani's plan,
Yeah.
and then somebody new will enter the picture at the end, and it will be a bit like Legopolis, where
Yeah. Do you think the
the
Rani's going to
Doctor
do
and the
it
Rani are
in
going to team up to defeat
Yeah.
this bigger villain.
the Conquistador?
Exactly.
What was all
the
those
bishop
Time Lords
or-
mentioned in the
yes,
first one? The Bishop,
yeah.
that's it. Yeah, all those
Yeah.
Time Lords mentioned in Space Babies. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think I'm gonna like this story. Like you said, Miles, I love the Zagreus type episodes. And on a random tangent, but it's kind of in keeping with that. I don't know if you've ever read the Target novelization of Edge of Destruction, but
I
No.
don't think so. No,
I-
not yet.
I-
So
I got the audiobook version on Audible because I've been getting into that recently.
Nice.
And I recommend it because
Okay.
it's very Zagreus. Like Barbara and Ian wake up and they think that they're in Coal Hill School and they're sort of seeing things.
right.
So if
Yeah.
you like that kind of stuff, that's my recommendation.
Interesting.
for the
Great,
week.
yeah. Well, that maybe we'll get Susan reading the audiobook midway through
Exactly,
Wishworld. Maybe.
exactly.
Have you bought this from Audible? This is a really good read. Yeah, I think the sort of the weird Zagreus storylines can kind of be both obviously a weird, wacky visuals and kind of like really quirky, but also really good character studies as well. So it'd be interesting to see, what kind of sides of these characters get highlighted in this story. And yeah, I'm really excited, and I can't believe that we're already here. It feels like
Yeah,
we
it's
only
flown
just
by.
opened the season like a day ago, but here we are. Yeah, we've had a really good run. So
Something that also stuck out to me. I rewatched last night Arachnids in the UK.
as you do.
As you do. Well, it's because
Yes.
it was for research purposes for
Of
my
course.
show, actually.
Oh, of
I try
course,
to watch
yes.
Doctor Who as much as possible. And because I'm at uni, everybody, and I'm doing a show where I have to play a sort of parody of Trump. So I thought, how can I make this about Doctor Who? Well, there's a Trump parody in Arachnids in the UK, so I'll watch that. And what struck me about that is that that's episode 4, but Jodie's Doctor still makes reference to, I'm still in a new body, I'm still trying to get used to it, and I'm not quite worked out yet. Whereas with Shooty, we've flown by and we've not really had that sort of adjustment period. It's all gone really, really quickly. It's a shame that we've not had that sort of breathing room, I guess. Rewatching that episode, I thought, oh, it's actually quite nice to have that slow sort of getting used to the character. It's gone by really quick, and it's been a really good season, though.
Yeah, really good.
Really good season. And hopefully it sticks to landing. If it does, this might quite possibly be the best series of Doctor Who, I think, since series 10, honestly. Really strong stuff.
Really good, and I'm really excited. Which is what more can you say, really? Yeah.
Well, there we go. Yeah, fantastic. On that note, the end of this monster roundtable review. Thank you to Josh and Miles and Pete and Joe from the 2 separate recording sessions, which of course have been edited together seamlessly for your viewing experience. But
of course,
yeah, comment below your thoughts on the Interstellar Song Contest and Susan and the Rani and your predictions for next week. And we'll see you then for Wish World.
And now from Richard, a solo of Duggadoo.
Duggadoo, 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 Duggadoo. Goodbye.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
How many points do I get?